Hey guys, MG here, MGCovers, bringing you a brand new handicapping video. Title of this video is going to be how to profit from our NBA power rankings. I'm going to show you what our power rankings are, how we're able to create our own lines, show you how you can get these daily, and obviously show you how you can profit from them. So let's dive right into it. What you see right here on the left-hand side, these are our actual lines for the game on NBA games for Saturday, which was that November the 16th? Yep. So you see the teams here, and then we have our line here. Now, and I've talked about this in previous videos, what makes our lines and the way I handicap and come up with my stat model is I only use stats from the last 5 games when I'm handicapping NBA. NFL, we use the last 5 games. For hockey, we use the last 10 games. Major League Baseball, we use the last 10 games. And we found that that's a better representation of how that team's going to perform in the next game than it is using year-to-date stats. And most people that handicap what we call the squares, or the general public, they generally look at year-to-date stats, a team's win-loss record, which is totally irrelevant and is not the true indicator of future performance. And I've said this a million times, the best indicator of future performance is most recent performance, which is why, again, we use the last 5 stats. So we're going to walk you through this here and look at some actual games. So this was on Saturday. We had Chicago at -5. That was our line for the game. And you go over here and look, in the actual line, looks like it was either -4, -3.5. Now, if you watched our NFL videos, we want to have, in order for this to be a play, we want to have a wide point differential or a big point differential. 2 points is not wide enough or not big enough for us to consider Chicago as a play. And like I've always said, so now, think about this. Those that have access to our power rankings, you can look at Chicago -5 and come over here and compare this line, and it actually protects you from making a bad wager. So this line right here where you see -4, how do you know that line is a good line? Well, you don't unless you have your own stat model that's proven, and this is. So let's go to the next game here. We got Milwaukee, Indiana. Actually, a mistake there. It's Milwaukee -6, Indiana's +6. So we go here. Again, same situation. Our line is very close to the sportsbook line, -7.5, so this will be a no play as well. Now, look at the next game. Our line is Charlotte -3, New York Knicks +3. And you see now, finally, we have a nice point differential. So the Charlotte line is +4. However, we have Charlotte as the favorite. So the difference between these numbers is 7. So you would go +3, +4, +3, +2, +1, 0, -1, -2, -3. So that difference is 7. A 7-point differential is a very good differential number in NBA when you're handicapping sides. So that means they're saying Charlotte's going to lose by 4. We're saying Charlotte should win by 3. So this would be a play. And you could actually see that Charlotte actually won this game 103-102. So that would be a win. Okay. Let's look at the next game here. New Orleans, Miami. We had Miami -10. You come down here, Miami was -8. Again, only a 2-point differential, so that would be a no play. And again, that protects you. A lot of people might say, hey, I'll play Miami. Now, Miami did cover in this game, by the way, but still, there's no value. There would be no value the way we handicap in playing that. Okay, where are we? Let's see. Oh, yeah, Houston. This is the big one here. Houston, we actually played this one. Houston -9. We had Minnesota +9. However, Houston was +2.5. Now, look at this differential. So the differential between 2.5 and -9 is a whopping, what would that be? Oh, I lost my train of thought here. Yeah, 9.5-point differential. So that was definitely a play for Houston, and Houston won that game by 20 points. And then the next game here, we were talking about that one. Let's scroll down and see this one here. Toronto, Dallas. Now this one too. Again, it's not nothing that you do in sports betting is perfect or works 100% of the time. You can see here we had Toronto as the favorite -5. Toronto was +4.5. So this would have been a play. on Toronto at 9.5, and it actually lost. Dallas won that one by 8 points. And then the next game here, we have Portland -6, San Antonio +6. Sportsbook line had Portland +1.5, so we're getting that 7.5 point differential, which would be a play. And of course, Portland did win this game, so that would have been a winner. And then Atlanta Clippers, we had Clippers -6, and they won pretty big here. Line was -9, so that would have been no play for us. So you can see that what you're looking for is you're looking for a big point differential between our lines that we create versus the sportsbook line, and that would be value. Okay, let's look at the backside of here. So let's look at the next day here. These are power rankings from 11. Whoops, my bad here. This is from 11/17. Let me scroll down here. Sorry about this, guys. Okay. Whoops. All right, let's see. Today's date. Okay. So let's take a look at today's games, which would be 11/17. So you can see there, Philadelphia, Cleveland. We had Cleveland as the favorite -3, and the actual sportsbook line had Cleveland +7.5. So that was a 10.5 point differential. That did not hit. Philadelphia won in a blowout. Cleveland did have some injuries there, so that may or may not have been a play. And what I'm showing you is just one side, 50% of how we handicap. There's a whole nother side that we handicap, is what I call situational angles, or the subjective side of handicapping. This is dealing strictly with statistics. And what we want to do is handicapping is two parts. It's the objective part, which is what we're doing, what I call the stat model, power rankings, finding our own line. And then if we have value, then we handicap that game situationally. Have to have two parts. And by what I mean by situationally is we handicap injuries. Does that team perform well at home? If we're going to wager on the away team, have they proven they can win on the road? What is their against the spread record? And then we put all that together to make a educated decision on whether or not it's a play or no play. All right, moving along here, we got Boston -1. And let's see here. Boston was -3, so that would have been a no play. And actually, Sacramento won that one. Next game here, you can see Denver. Denver was -6.5. We had the line at -10, so that's pretty close as far as value. That's only 3.5 points. So that probably, I would say that would probably be a no play, even though Denver won convincingly. Again, we want to have a bigger line discrepancy between the sportsbook line and our line to ensure that it is a good value play. Next, Washington and Orlando. And again, this is the beauty of having when you have access to our power rankings, is that they again protect you from making a bad wager, because you can see here Orlando is -6, and they did not cover. Washington actually covered in this game, even though Orlando won. But you knew it was going to be close, because not only was the sportsbook line -6, our line was -5 as well, so that would have been a no play. Moving along, Golden State. We had Golden State at -2, and the sportsbook line had them at +4, so that may have been a play. Golden State was on a little road trip, so situationally that may not have been a play. 6 points, 6-point differential, so that was probably enough value to actually look at that game further. And then finally, Lakers. Lakers were -15. We had them at -10, so no value there at all in playing the Lakers, even though it looks like they're going to cover convincingly. Now, what I want to do, let's look at the totals, which is interesting, and we actually you'll have access to these daily as well. Okay, now look at this first game here, Philadelphia, Cleveland. So our total for this game was 199.5. Now, the reason this total was so high is people look at these teams as, these teams traditionally are scoring pretty well. But however, again, we only use stats from the last 10 games, and what we found is they were not scoring as many points in those last 5. So we had the total line at 199.5. And you can see here the sportsbook line had it at 216. So that was a 17-point differential on the total line, which is huge. So that would definitely be an indication that statistically the under would be the play, and the under did hit here. Looks like they had, what was that, 209? 209, so the under won easily there. Again, next game here, we had Boston, Sacramento, 223. The line was 215, so that's still pretty tight. Now, again, you're going to have to almost, any line under 10 is going to be fairly tight. You would probably want, closer to 10 as opposed to the 8-point differential that you see here. So that would probably been a no play. Denver, Memphis, we had it at 212, and you can see our line is really close to the actual line that was 215. And that's another thing. When you look at a stat model, and I've talked about this in numerous videos and all of our different sports that we handicap, is that the sign of a good stat model is most of the games, our line is going to be similar to the sportsbook line, because it's rare for them to make what we call, quote, a bad line, or maybe they're basing a line on public's perception, because, again, they're not trying to beat the sharps. They are trying to beat the general public, which is majority of where their income comes from. So they set the line based on how the general public perceives the team, which usually there's a few games, 2 or 3 games, depending on the day, where we can actually find value. But for the most part, our lines will be very similar to the sportsbook lines. Moving along, Washington, Orlando, where's that game? 226.5. We had it at 225.5. Golden State, scroll down here, was 226. We had it at 242, so we had a really high total here. So that may have been a play on the over. If it would have been, that would actually lost that one. However, that's a really high total. Sometimes you have to what we call the truncated mean. It's kind of getting complex. So when I'm handicapping these games and I see this total of 242, I will probably go back and look at some of these scores. Did they, because we're only using stats from the last 5 games. They might have had 2 games, possibly went to overtime, etc., that we may need to consider that when we're handicapping. And then finally, the Atlanta Lakers game that's going on right now. We had the total at 218, and the actual total was 220.5. So that would have been a no play for us. So anyway, hope that makes a lot of sense. And again, the whole idea of having power rankings, I call them power rankings, but it's actually our lines for the games, is that you can compare our lines to the sportsbook line to see if that line is good, and what you're looking for is value. And I'm going to show you how to get access to that. But before I do that, don't forget, if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram. It's MGCovers, cover spelled with a Z. On the gram, you can also follow me on Twitter, same screen name, MGCovers. And what's cool about following me on Instagram, I give out a ton of content updates on my storyline. So if you want to see, learn about handicapping, I'm constantly updating things on my storyline about handicapping, giving tips, etc., etc. So you can do that. And then this is the actual website here. And not only do we have power rankings for NBA, we have power rankings for NFL. We have power rankings for NHL, power rankings for soccer. And I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and take a look at those. I'll pull up the NFL power rankings. Scroll down here. And you can see we do the same exact thing. So we have, we create on lines for the games. We had the Atlanta-Carolina game today. You can see our line was 0.6, so basically even. We played Atlanta plus 200 on the money line, so that one actually hit. Scroll down here. I had some clients that we didn't play this one, but I do know clients had the Jets. We had Jets at -4. They won convincingly. So again, it just you're able to create your own line. Compare that to sportsbook line. You're more educated and can make better wagers. And then, of course, our NHL power rankings. Game we played today, we had Chicago as a huge favorite. They won convincingly, and you'll have access to all of the NHL power rankings. And then finally, our soccer power rankings. The EPL League and Bundesliga League was off this week, but the Brazil League was playing, so you get what we call our goal differential, and you actually see the line, so you get access to all 3 of these leagues in addition to the NBA power rankings. And you might be asking yourself, how much does that cost? Well, let me show you what we're looking at here. The power rankings, if you join, just click this link here, subscribe to what we say coaching, and it's $29.95 a month. That's all it is. And in addition to all the power rankings, you actually get access to this coaching page. And on the coaching page, we have videos on how to handicap. We're going to have one, it's already up, on how to handicap NBA. We walk through the how to handicap using the stat model. We're going to have another video that talks about how to handicap situationally. What are things you need to consider when you handicap situationally? We have videos how to handicap NHL, how to handicap NFL, and for all our sports. And when NCAA basketball starts up, you'll also be able to have access to those power rankings as well. And just a note, if you want to join and just get subscribed to just plays, that's $49.95 a month. And of course, you can cancel anytime. And the best value is, our most popular one is, you get access on everything on the site for $199. That'd normally that's a savings of about $100. So you're just prepaying for 6 months. You'll get power rankings for all the sports. You get access to all the coaching videos, and you get access to plays as well. So all that, $199 for 6 months. And finally, before I leave, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe. Greatly appreciate it. And if you have any other questions concerning handicap, shoot me an email, mg@mgcovers. Hope everybody has a profitable week, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.